creating a business for you from your podcast, making the podcast generate income, then but also generate your main business income, and then and create you the authority, pretty much like a Gary Vee situation. Become Gary
the authority. You had no idea what you were in for, did you?
Look into his eyes. They're the eyes of a man obsessed by
success.
Eyes that mock our sacred institutions. Bedroom eyes, they call them in a bygone day.
Sex desire is the most powerful of human desires. When driven by this desire, men develop keenness of imagination, courage, willpower, persistence, and creative ability unknown to them at other times. So strong and impelling is the desire for sexual contact that men freely run the risk of life and reputation to indulge in. When harnessed and redirected along other lines, this motivating force maintains all of its attributes of keenness of imagination, courage, etc., which may be used as powerful creative forces in literature, art, or in any other profession or calling, including, of course, the accumulation of riches. Napoleon Hill.
Hey there, peeps. This is Michelle Nedlick. I am super glad that you're here with us because today I am jumping in bed with my most amazing guest, Phil Lemieux. Phil, thank you so much for being here with us today.
It is a pleasure to be here today, Michelle, and jumping into this cozy bed of yours.
Excellent. Well, when businesses get together, they're jumping in bed together. So, we just like to run with that theme. So give everybody kind of a highlight of who you are and what you love to do for business.
So I am Phil Lemieux, aka Phil Better, the podcast mogul. I help businesses leverage podcasting to create ATMs, pretty much. I've been in the podcasting world for over a decade. I understand the intricacies of how you can leverage podcasting to be just make money. It's very simple because it's the most intimate form of marketing you can have. Because you are talking to someone specifically in their ears, your ideal customer, your ideal listener, right in their ear holes, and you're telling them exactly what you want them to do. And you can have a more sensual voice by slowing your voice down, or you can have a more, rapid voice, and you can get those feelings with this because that's what our voices are, right? We hear so much. So I teach people how to leverage podcasting to get the goals that they want, and generally most goals are to increase their revenue. So I'm very happy to talk to you about that today.
Nice, because it is all about stroking your listeners in the right way. So how did you get into all of that? Poor guy.
I have to
just
really
about spat, but
yeah,
do you swallow or do you spit? I just gotta know right there. If you didn't see, he was gonna cough and then he drank water.
Jesus. These are like thousands of questions here. Let's start with the first one. How did I get into this? I started podcasting because I was listening to a Kevin Smith podcast, and he's like, anybody can do it. And I'm like, okay, if anybody can do it, I can do it. So I said, what can I do a podcast on? And at the time I was also listening to another podcast called The Weekly Planet, which was about movies and pop culture. So I was like, I can do that. I love pop culture and movies, right? So tried that and created the Phil Better Show, which was my biggest and worst, my best success and my worst success. Like it was a total failure because it hit none of the goals that I had set for it because I didn't understand how to set goals and all that stuff. 2020 happened. And I was like, I need to learn how to be an entrepreneur because 2020 shut down the world. So I started trying things on YouTube, not figuring it out, failing more times than I succeeded. And then I was like, wait, I know how to podcast. That's my bread and jam. Why don't I just ask people who already are successful how to be successful? Right. And this is before I heard of like John Lee Dumas's podcast, Entrepreneurs on Fire, or Tim Ferriss's, the Tim Ferriss Show. So I started just going after specifically digital entrepreneurs because they are the people I wanted to be. And I started like just throwing out thousands of invites, cold emails, learning all about like what cold email is without even realizing I need to know what cold email is, like just throwing on hats. And then I started getting those interviews, started asking questions, how to build a business, how to develop businesses and plans and all that with these different entrepreneurs doing it in the field that I wanted to be in. And then I started going, wait, I can offer my service, like trying to figure out what your niche, what is your thing, what is your secret sauce, what makes you you. And I'm like, well, I podcast and I understand it explicitly and I know the power of it. So I started offering it to different guests, and then I just developed my business. And then I was like, well, now I like the control of being a producer, but I don't like answering to people.
What?
That's my biggest thing. So I'm starting something new called bespoken podcasting.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it's pretty much because the biggest hurdle I get, the biggest thing when people who want to go into podcasting but don't understand podcasting, and then you start telling them all the work that's involved in it, and they're like, really? All this work and such a little ROI, and they don't realize the ROI is like 6, 10 a year later. Like it's a long-term investment, is offering them all the benefits of a podcast without the work.
Nice. Yeah,
So they
complete
pay me,
opposite of dating.
yeah, right.
Wow,
So they
I gotta
paid
hang around
me.
with you for a year before I get laid. This is
Yeah, it's like, yeah,
wow.
we have to learn about all each other, then we get married. Like, no, let's I already know the benefits of marriage, the tax deductions, all that fun stuff.
Exactly.
So yeah, so I take care of everything for them, and they just pay me, and they either can go from the low level of sponsoring a podcast. So it's like, let's say you were like, I need a podcast for my business, and you didn't have any podcasts. Like you have 25,000 podcasts. You have too many podcasts. Stop stealing podcasts.
A little overachiever here.
Yeah, just slightly overachieving. But like Awareness Strategies needs a podcast. So what do? You come to me and I'm like, okay, you can sponsor a podcast. I create a podcast that's in your niche. So your podcast, your business is about creating strategies for businesses to grow. So what do? We talk to businesses and talk about the strategies, right? And then we go, this podcast is sponsored by Awareness Strategies. That's it. You pay for the host, the platform, the host of the podcast who does the interviews or just talks about strategies, depending on what you want. We talk about that. Then we have the lead gen podcast, which generates leads for your business. So we create appointment setters, but they're podcast interviewers. So they interview your guest, and then we sell you afterwards. We like, okay, here, you know what? You need help building strategies for your podcast or for your business. We have Awareness Strategies, an amazing partner that focuses straight on your domain. And then we send them to you, and you close them. And now you have this business coming in. And then there's the full glove service, which is the branding, the growth, like the pretty much
Pretty sure you meant velvet glove.
White glove, velvet glove, all the gloves.
Not
we
the
don't
rubber
judge whatever type of glove you need, the doctor's glove. But yeah, then there's like the velvet glove sequence of which is just creating a business for you from your podcast, making the podcast generate income, then but also generate your main business income, and then and create you the authority, pretty much like a Gary Vee situation. Become Gary
authority.
Vee.
You had no idea what you were in for, did you?
No,
say that sentence again. What did you say?
Become the authority, or shoot the authority, or become the authority. I don't know. I'm in trouble already. I feel it, and I'm like, I can swim out of this. I'm not ready for this.
Keep that sperm thought in you and just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. You'll find it eventually. It's
I need an adult. I need an adult to walk me through this conversation.
Say word. I need say word.
I need an adult who you can adult her. Oh, that's great, Phil. Okay, let's continue with questions.
Oh, poor Phil. I love you, and you had no idea. And that just speaks to me as a testament that I can pretend to be a same person every once in a while. Get to know me, and you think you know me, and then all of a sudden, no, you don't. So talk to me about your ideal audience. Who is your ideal prospect or people that you work with? Because I know that there's a lot of people that like to get into the nitty gritty of the back end of podcast.
Nitty gritty.
I just can't do it. No. So tell me about people who don't like playing with their own back end. What do your clients look like?
My clients are the people who are busy. They're like, I know the power of podcasts. Like they understand podcasting they understand the power of it, right? They know that it's the thing that they need to have for their business, but they just don't have the time or the inclination to implement it, because it's like it's a lot of work, because you have to get the equipment, the hosting, the figure this, the strategies, all this, and it's like it's another thing on your plate, and already you're dealing with 84 other things, and you're just like, I don't want to add it, but I need it. So you come to me, you pay a price, you pay for my expertise, and that's it. Also, you're hands off. You're like, hey, this is what I want, and then I come to you and we fix it together, and then you're like, okay, run with it, and that's it. You understand that it needs to be run without being micromanaged, and you have to trust that we're going to do it for your business. Like, you're paying us to bring you business or build your brand. I only get paid when you get paid. So like I'm going to make sure that you get paid as much money as possible, so that I get that big dollar bills as well.
Big bump at the end of the month.
Yeah, the big bump, that
You were gonna say
yeah,
it. I know you
feeling.
were. You just held back, didn't want to say it. Well, and I think it's awesome because there was a podcast that I was listening to just this morning, which wouldn't necessarily be your ideal client, but it was kind of neat to me in that it was an industry specific podcast. So it was basically a podcast for their clientele, for their members. It was 7 minutes, and they were exploits or snippets from talks that had been done. And it was like, here's the best of this 1 hour talk. And he talks about, how 4% increase in sales this year, you can expect it. And it's just a little 7-minute clip of a 1 hour talk, and they intro, outro, and everybody, and there's tons of people listening to it.
Yeah,
which I thought was fantastic.
It's that is just like that's something that I advise clients to do. One of my clients, he does a monthly mastermind with client, and they get that all his mastermind gets to ask him one question. Every member gets to ask him one question. And I'm like, we can make a podcast out of that. And he's like,
Totally.
How? And I'm like, give me the recording. I edit them just for each question. And if you have 52 questions, we have 52 episodes that we can drop in. And then it's like, hey, do you want to get access to the mastermind? Boom. That's it. And like, there's the sale for everything, because then the questions being asked are the ones they have themselves. So you're just building your authority as this individual who has these questions being asked. Like, everything that you do, anything that you record can be turned into a podcast.
Besides porn.
No, there are. What about
There
blind
are
people? They
porn
need to hear.
podcasts? Of course there are.
There has to be.
There has to be.
There has to be. Every niche has been oversaturated with podcasting. I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't. There's one being planned. Either someone talking.
Now.
Well, actually, it would fall under AMSR.
Uh-huh.
Because you're listening to the sounds to get pleasure. So, yeah, you have the erotic storytelling. So, yeah, there is technically porn, like not because we think of porn visually, right? Because you have to see the penetration or the
so there's some audio babies out there that are just listening to bounce wow wow.
Pretty much, yeah. They're just like and all that fun stuff. I can't. Oh my God.
Places you never thought this conversation would go.
I never thought I would be talking about porn podcasts. Like I figured like these guys, like, wow, podcasting, ladies and gentlemen, that's what you can have. You never know what conversation is going to happen to have. Can I have like 2 seconds to drink a bit of water before you say something that makes me want to spit it out? Because I don't know if I'm going to be able to control myself. And I know that whole sentence I just said is laced with good innuendos for you to destroy me with.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will be taking a 2-minute pause so that Phil can go and collect himself in the washroom. We're back.
That would be a great place for mid-roll for any sponsorships that you have. Just giving out value here as the podcast mogul. Since we had to take a pause because I had to collect myself from dying of laughter.
He had to go and find the powder room for a minute. Collect himself.
But yeah, so talking how
feel free to find me a sponsor for that moment. Awesome.
I guaranteed Viagra. Viagra would jump on this podcast.
Well,
even
I'm
your
kind of worried
business.
that Pfizer might sue me actually for the name of the podcast.
No, they can't. They can't. You're completely different. Is it called the Blue Pill Podcast? Because if
The
it's called
little
the
blue
Blue Pill,
pill for business.
there you go. You're fine.
Okay,
You're
good.
fine.
Okay. Talk to
Like,
Pfizer
look,
for me, will you?
I'm not dealing with it. Look, I'm just saying it's the Blue Pill for business. They make the Blue Pill for men,
Either.
and you're not calling it the Blue Pill. It's the Blue Pill for. So technically, creative license. I don't know. If they come after you, you just change it. It's fine. Whatever.
Exactly. They can't compete with me no matter what. And just as a note here, I am trying to find the president of Pfizer in 1998 when it first came out, because I think that would be hilarious to go, okay, so you got this thing, decided, hey, we're gonna put it on national television. I think that is hilarious.
I want to speak to the marketing people behind Viagra, because they have to come up with the most ingenious ways to say, hey, this pill gets you laid without explicitly showing it.
Well, and keep in mind, this was like the 80s. It was granted, we already had Madonna and whatnot, but it wasn't exactly mainstream quite yet.
No.
We didn't have HBO yet.
No, HBO was still saying, hey, we have an idea. You pay us to create content.
Exactly. Oh, that's awesome. So just to make life easier for you, give us an example of a Cinderella story of one of your clients.
It's actually my first client, Lloyd. He came on the podcast, an authority in understanding how to use creating a side hustle to build wealth in the stock market. Comes on, he blew my mind with it, and afterwards, I'm like, hey, you have to have your own podcast. Yes, he blew. Jesus. I said, you need to have your own podcast. And he was like, I don't know. And so it's like, look, let me get you on podcast to show you how powerful it is. So I landed him on like 5 to 6 other podcasts where he just was shown the greatest courtesy, business podcast, and he saw the interaction the audience gave, and he comes back to me. He's like, okay, I'm sold. Let's start. And from there, he's like, you're in complete control. Tell me what I need to do. I'm like, okay. To make my life easier, I said, this is how you have to record. And he's like, okay. And I sent him the links, and he bought the equipment. I'm like, this is how we're going to do the podcast. We're going to do this, values, interviews, this. And I'm like, just send me it and I will take care of it. He's like, that's all I have to do. I'm like, yes, you send it to me, you pay me, I take care of it. That's what it is. I like full control. I'm somewhat of a control freak. I can teach you how to do it, but if you're like, okay, but like coach me the whole way, no, because you're not going to do what I want you to do. And obviously that's fine, because you're a unique individual, but then you start questioning. And it's like, no, you're paying me to make you money here. Like, why are you don't know how to work podcasting? Why are you questioning? That's the thing I get. I always get annoyed by. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't work over here. It's like, obviously it doesn't work over there because that's not podcasting.
Right?
It won't work over there, but it will work here because that's how podcasting works. I've done this a long time. Like, I don't tell you how to do your job. Why are you telling me how to do my job? So that's why I like the full control.
We just have to find you a little basement room of your own.
Yeah, just give me a little room. Let me talk into a microphone and pay me. That's all I need, you know.
A little Dom coming out of you.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're not going to touch that one with a 10-foot pole. that's not something we're going to go down. So we're going to just stay there. But anyways, yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so let's get back into the business. How does this help somebody scale and grow their business and get up the revenue when it comes to, say they have a business and they're like, it's going, and somebody keeps saying, hey, you should do a podcast, and they're like, but I don't get, like, how does this actually help them to build their business?
So the podcasting ROI, like, if you want to test it out, it's be a guest on a podcast in your niche. So it doesn't, like, if your niche is, copywriting, find copywriting podcasts that do interviews, get on them. and talk shop with the copywriter. You will in 6 months after that episode comes out, you'll start seeing an increase on your website. If the copywriter is doing, like, if the podcaster is doing the right stuff with their promotion and all that. It is a 6-month cycle from the moment the interview is aired to when you start seeing the return on investment. It's been done on Tom Hunt, who is a SaaS marketer specifically focusing on using podcasting. He has shown multiple times with his clients, it's 6 months that you start seeing the engagement. It's the same thing with blog posts. It's a 6 months thing because it takes Google and the search engines that long to start analyzing and processing it and giving it the authority it deserves. So your podcast is a 6 months venture. You start putting out the content now in 6 months, it's going to pop off because that's when Google's going to index it. I knew it. But it will increase the revenue because then people are going to start consuming it. It's going to start showing more stuff. And the more you push towards your podcast and your marketing themes, and you use your podcast to push to your main website or product, then you're going to start seeing the revenue come in. It's just using it as a top of funnel marketing way. It maybe not top funnel, but middle of funnel way to keep people aware of what you have and the offers you have. So it's the same thing as having an email list, but you're using your podcast as an audio sales letter in every episode if you want. Because at the end of it, your call to action is, hey, book a call with me, or buy this product, or I have this that can help you. That's all it is. It's just constantly moving people from being aware of you to being a fan of yours to being someone that wants to purchase from you.
I love it. And keep good track of your opt-in, whatever you're giving away at the thing, because I have noticed that occasionally somebody will blow up my page and I don't know it. And it's like, oh, we should probably start looking at that again and make sure that everything's working the way it should. Because yes, tech works great until it doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much the thing that you want with your podcast is you want your call to action is to be, hey, go to this specific part of my website, feelbetterinc.com/consult. You land there. It's a landing page. You fill out a form. I get your email, and then I can have this intimate conversation to get you to subscribe to my podcast or my other products. It's another form of marketing. And my goal with the podcast is to create that intimate connection. Once the
I hope
person
you have an
trusts
opt-in that's called Feel Better with my discovery call.
Feel better with a nice discovery call. I will be now because marketing is not always the best thing that's on top of mind for me, because I'm so ingrained in understanding helping people make podcasting. There's other people who are better at marketing podcasts. There are better people who are better at copywriting podcasts, but there's nobody who understands the whole cycle of a podcast and what it can do for you. That's what I do. Exactly. That's what I bring.
Yes, you do. And I know our listeners are going to want more from you. How did they start their journey with you?
Simply, if they want to see how I use my podcast for lead gen, they can check out my podcast, investinyourselfpod.com. That's the best website. But if they want to already skip all that and go, Phil, I want to pay you money, you go to feelbetterinc.com/consult and you just book a time with me, and then we can see about getting you a podcast that prints money for you.
You get a consult that'll make you feel better. I like it.
You'll get it. I guaranteed you'll walk away with a action plan. I know we had one, Michelle, and I gave you some pieces of advice that I'm pretty sure you'll want to implement. I don't know if you will, but from the recording, you seemed happy with it.
You were awesome. I did have a cigarette afterwards, and I changed my opt-in, and I changed my background, and I changed my all sorts of things changed because of that. There you go. There you go.
See, if the host of the podcast is even saying it's good, you're going to feel better meeting with Phil Better. There you go. How do you like that one? That was good.
There you go. Hey, it's working. Awesome. I love it. Phil, your patience and your willingness to drive through this has been awesome. I appreciate it immensely. And the fact that you catch on to my this is also fun. Some people, I say things and I'm laughing and they're like, I don't get it.
It's a dirty mind. Why waste a dirty mind? We have to enjoy it. We have to nurture it, and every once in a while let it out to play and frolic naked in the wilderness.
Exactly. So tell us, at what point in life did you know that you were especially kind of crazy enough to think that you could become an entrepreneur?
Um, when I looked at my boss and realized that they did not understand the power or the tool that they had at their disposal. This was 2021. That like I started my journey in 2020,
Wow.
learning how, and then in 2021, mid 2021, I was like, F, you really don't understand because I'm trying to help you make the business better, which will end up making you look better to your bosses. I worked for a major financial institution, and I was like, look, I'm trying to ask questions to create innovation because I had done by that time close to about 100 interviews with entrepreneurs.
Wow.
And when you have an hour with an entrepreneur, 30 minutes to an hour with an entrepreneur, you learn a lot really quickly, and you ask the questions that are interesting, and that helps pop your brain start moving. So like the questions I was asking, I was like, look, I'm looking at this from 3 different perspectives. Like this doesn't make sense. Like it help it make sense to me so that I can then sell it to the clients, right?
Right.
And they just kind of were always like, no, this is how we do it. This is tradition. Like it's tradition. It's tradition. It's tradition. This is how it's always been done. This is how it's always going to be done. I'm like, yeah, well, we always, if that was the way, we would still be riding horses and living in huts. Like innovation happens, right? And one day, just something happened. My manager said something, and it was specifically about podcasting, and it pissed me the fuck off. And so I made a comment, and then it led to a conversation with her, which led to me saying, fuck this, I'm not working the rest of the day. Walked off, had 4 missed calls from her boss, but I didn't answer it because I was like, no, I'm too pissed off. I'm going to say something. I need to think about something. Go back and write her an email saying, hey, I know, I'm sorry. I should have told someone I'm in the wrong. They're like, we want to have a meeting. I'm like, cool, let's have a meeting. So we had the meeting on the Friday, and the meeting was like, tell us your side of the story. I told the side of the story, and then they're like, well, we want to talk to you about what happened in training. And I'm like, oh, we're not going to address that I felt insulted at all by your man. Cool, you're right. I shouldn't be here. Bye, click. And just close. It wasn't as satisfactory as slamming down the phone. I just closed the
Browser. Oh, that's so disappointing.
no, not even the browser, just the laptop. I just went flump. So I was like, it's some sort of closing measure. I missed the hanging up or the storming out because we're remote from home. But at that moment, it was like, you don't respect me enough for the ideas that I'm presenting as an employee. I'm going to go out and prove that I know what I'm talking about, and I have. And I secretly, like deep down, the petty side of me, like wants to be hired by the company again as a consultant and walk in and just go, fuck you, bitch. But that's the super petty side of me that I'm trying to get rid of, but it's still there. It's like the chip on the shoulder, the one who's yelling at you that you can't do it. And you're like, I'm going to prove you wrong.
We know some good therapists. It's all good.
I have a great therapist, and she's still like, Phil, you need to let it go. I'm like, I'm trying, okay?
As soon as I walk into that office, it'll be gone, I promise. Like, no. That's awesome.
Oh, God.
You have been a ton of fun. Thank you, especially for me. I appreciate it.
I hope I just hope that I added value to the audience. Like I don't want them to hire me because they're probably not my ideal client. Like to be honest, I'm very picky with my clients.
Those of you who thought you might be a good client, he doesn't really want you anyway. So
Yeah, no, it's like, look, listen, I'll be honest. I want people just to pay me to make podcasts. Like if you don't want any work with the podcast, you just want the benefit of it, and you're like, here, I trust
you. Like hiring hookers? You'll like hiring Phil.
Yeah, exactly. Like, look,
just here to do the job.
If you just want to pay someone for their expertise and not have to do any of the work, yo, just come pay me the money. I will do that for you. I love podcasting. I want to make, my goal is to make 100 million podcasts.
He'll tie you up, gag you so that you can't say anything and complain about the job.
Yeah, you're like, what are you doing? I'm doing my job. Shut up. You like it, you little dirty person. You like it, business owner. With the whips and chains. Like, yeah, maybe I am a little dominating. But so far it's turned out to work well. I get to do what I want, and I enjoy my life. I don't know if that's way too personal or not personal enough for this show, but yes, look, my ideal client is someone that just wants to have a podcast and just wants to have free marketing, pretty much pay bottom barrel pricing for marketing and just reap so much reward from it. But I can't speak today.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I fucked you up. It's all good.
Oh, I'm guaranteed I'm gonna be sitting going, what the hell just what was that? Smoking my cigarette, going, oh my god. I don't know
what it was, but I liked it. I feel so bad. Shame. The shame.
The bell of shame. No, don't feel shame. I agreed to come on the podcast. Like that, it was my own choice. Should have realized.
Exactly. Don't feel shame. It's all good.
Shame's just my kink. Leave me alone. Let me have my kink. Don't kink shame me. Wait, do, because it's my kink. Damn it.
Phil, any last words for our peeps as you swallow for the last time?
I swallow my dignity for the last time. Last words is like, look, regardless if you hire me or not, you need a podcast. Podcasting is your radio station of the internet. It's the evolution. It's just like you need to have a YouTube channel because a YouTube channel is the TV of the future. Like, start with if you have a YouTube channel, you have a podcast, just pull the audio and throw it up online. Boom, you're done. That's your podcast. Put an intro, outro, boom, you're finished. Like, that's how simple it is. And the marketing, you don't have to market because as long as you have the proper keywords in there, you're fine. The basics of a podcast is a YouTube channel. It's a conversation. It's whatever the fuck you want it to be. Just start one. God damn it. I'm done. Hell, I'm frustrated.
Thank you, Phil. You've been awesome. I appreciate you coming in and humoring me.
I appreciate you for having me.
Peeps, this is Michelle Nedlick, your mistress in business. Thank you for being here with us today. Be sure to subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast app so that we can help you get it up when you need it, because we love having you here. Thank you for listening to the Little Blue Pill for Business podcast with your mistress in business, Michelle Nedlick. Why are you still here? Go to littlebluepillforbusiness.com and get your goodies. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to share it with somebody else that you know would enjoy getting it up in business. After you subscribe to the podcast, of course, so you won't miss any future episodes. Now, check the notes for links. Oh, and only tell your wife if she's into this, entrepreneurship. And I'll see you both on the other side.